Good afternoon, sirs and ma'am. So Pete Hegseth recently gave a speech on fitness and woke ideology in the military, and some of the most qualified women on any network decided to give their opinion on that speech. Yeah, the view.
We could have done this a lot easier and a lot cheaper and talked to people all around the world.
Yeah, come on.
What was the reason for it?
I think it's supposed to be a show of strength for Hegseth.
Maybe it's a distraction from, the Epstein files.
Bunch of woke, we'll call them apolitical. I'm just kidding. They're not anything but political commentary subjects. But yeah, they gave their opinion, and wow, let's tear that apart. Now, before we get fired away, if you could like and subscribe to The Right View, maybe comment on this video, I wouldn't mind it. Now, what qualifies me more to talk about fitness in the military than these women on The View? Well, as many of you could have already guessed by the subtle clues that are in my videos, like this hat right here, I was a corpsman in the United States Navy, and I held myself to the highest standards of the military. I was an ACFL. This is my shirt from when I was active duty. And if you're not aware of what that is, it stands for Assistant Command Fitness Leader. I held Command PT, Duty Section PT, Joint PT with the Marine Corps. I also ran something called FEP, which stands for Fitness Enhancement Program. And I didn't care if you were a chief or a commander, HM3, it didn't matter to me. If you showed up and you did miserable on your PT test, I failed you. I don't care. Integrity, that's what we have in the military. Honor, courage, and commitment. Those are the core values of the Navy and the Marine Corps. And it didn't matter to me if you, like I said, if you were a commander, an E1, an O5, a senior chief, it didn't matter to me. If you weren't doing these things correctly, I would fail you. And I got in trouble for that a couple times. My senior chief came up to me and said, "Did you fail, chief?" I said, yeah, I did. I said, well, why? Because he wasn't doing his push-ups correctly. We have to have integrity, and we have to have fitness standards in the military. That's what these women in The View do not understand, because they're woke, they're pro-Democrat, they're pro-DNC. So, yeah, let's get to talking about them.
Before we went on the air, the newly renamed Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, spoke to U.S. military leaders from around the world to lay out his very retro vision for our armed forces. Watch.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department. We are done with that. It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new...
I mean, if you had leadership that was huge in the military, comment down below. Because for the life of me, I couldn't understand how any of these people were passing their PT tests. It's lead by example is something that you're taught in the military. Lead by example. How can you lead by example if you're huge? I mean, I had nurse practitioners civilian nurse practitioners that I couldn't work with because they were massive. They would come in the morning, and their hair's all nice. And by the end of the day, it was glued down to their head because sweating all day. And I couldn't work with them. I couldn't, because as I'm doing my notes on my patients, they're eating behind me, and I would holler at them, "Stop eating in the office." But sounds rude. I don't care. I really don't. All right, let's continue.
New recruits. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits.
I agree.
Why is he obsessed with fat?
Yeah, and fitness and...
Anyway, this was just the opening act, because Trump took the stage.
Why is he obsessed with fat and fitness? They say, because it's very important when it comes to the military. You have to be able to defend and protect your brothers and sisters in arms, no matter what. If you're huge and you can't run a mile and a half, if you can't run even 100 yards You have no place in the military, period. And if you can't carry somebody that is 250 pounds, then no. Don't bother.
After he did, and I think he's still talking right now. But take a look.
If you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank, there goes your future. We went, in a way, woke. That was probably the first sign of wokeness. And we changed it to defense instead of war. And I said, what do you think? How do you think if we changed it back? Would that be a nice idea? I thought it would be met with fury on the left. But they're sort of giving up, I must be honest with you. They've had it. They've had it with Trump. You don't have to be that good with nuclear. You could have 1/20th what you have now and still do the damage. You can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N word. There are 2 N words, and you can't use either of them.
So how do you think the highest-ranking U.S. military officials feel about taking orders from a reality star and a former talk show host? I mean, I could be doing.
I think she's about to say I could be doing this. A reality star and a former talk show host. He's the commander-in-chief of the military. He was elected by the voters in this country to be the commander-in-chief. What a joke these women are.
According to this.
I won't necessarily speak to that, but I'm very lost on the fact that it seems like it's become a Republican Party position out of nowhere that the U.S. military is weak. We're the greatest fighting force in the history of mankind. U.S. troops are deployed in over 100 countries around the world. We are also a deterrent.
No one said the military was weak. They said we're getting rid of wokeness and fat people. That doesn't make the entire military weak.
Force. The idea of American military strength is that you avoid having to get into wars by being as strong as we are. And I know that people think it's weak or it's woke to say that our diversity is our strength, but the thing that's so unique about the United States, we are the most diverse nation on earth, and we have the most diverse military on earth, socioeconomically, racially, religiously.
So what's this about?
All of these people from different backgrounds come together and fight for the American values. So I don't understand why we have to denigrate the military to try to talk about doing better. And I would also mention, we did have a recruiting crisis, but in 2024 and 2025, the military met recruitment goals, which is huge. Final thing, I did not like that Pete Hegseth, who did serve his country, but chose to denigrate the service of others. He name-checked 3 generals, 2 that I served with.
And fat-shaming, big time.
2 that I served with, General McKenzie and General...
Yeah, it's completely okay to fat shame in the military, for sure. We can't have fat bodies in the military. We can't have it. That's weakness. The same thing with police. Have you ever seen a fat police officer and thought, what are you going to do? Well, they're probably just going to shoot first because they can't chase. I can't stand seeing fat doctors, fat nurses, fat firefighters, fat police, or fat military. It drives me wild. Well, it drives me crazy.
Milley, both of whom have a combined nearly 100 years of service. General Milley served for 40 years in the military. You don't need to attack other people's service to make yourself feel
So why
better.
do you think they're doing this? I mean, there's always an ulterior motive for all that crazy
Well, that's the major
stuff.
question, and if it has anything to do with the recruiting lull, they probably just made it worse. They called over 800 generals from their stations all around the world, demanding that they all come here. Now, why would you also televise that all of our generals have left their post?
And are in one place.
Yeah, or in one place. Like, I don't get it. And then there's an estimated $6 million that we, taxpayers, we paid for their travel, lodging, and security when we all learned a few years ago you can do it all on Zoom. So I don't know, because some of the messages were, as Joy mentioned, don't be fat.
Zoom. So that some of these generals could have been in their Zoom calls not wearing pants. No, it's about integrity. Being there, listening to every single word. They don't know anything about what they're talking about.
Shave your beard, go back to hazing people. I know if
against each other.
Well, yeah, hazing the younger people, but
Yeah.
Knowing military, one of its most beautiful things, and the reason it's probably always been the strongest in the world, is there's a rank and file. My dad went to Valley Forge Military Academy. He served in Vietnam. There's a pride to their service and their rank and file. These are the tip top of the military line, listening to.
I can't stand people that say, well, I can talk about this because my dad served. I don't give a fuck about your opinion if your dad served and you didn't.
Someone give kind of a knockoff TED talk about something, and I still haven't figured out what it is. I think it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time, and do they know the government might be shutting down tonight, and we are paying money to make it a mandatory meeting to hear from Pete Hegseth?
Yeah.
Oh, that part.
I'm actually really befuddled by why he did that. The optics were terrible, meaning all of our top military brass are all in one place, and we spent $6 million to get them there. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. It also didn't make a lot of sense to me that he was saying that he was going to toughen physical standards and review the anti-hazing policy by sort of implementing a hazing policy. And then also he said he was going to return to the highest male standard for combat positions because the troops were fat. I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
Maybe he's referring to Colonel Sanders.
It was really.
These women drive me nuts, especially Sunny. She's so out there. It's wild. Hazing. Yeah, there always has been hazing in the military, and there always will be. Period. It's not like it's terrible hazing. I concur with hazing.
A bizarre thing. He started talking about woke DEI policies. By the way, there are no gender quotas in the military. By the way, he fired more than a dozen military leaders, many of them people of color and women. He fired the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, General Charles Brown Jr., who...
They fired people because they openly said that they weren't going to comply with Trump being the commander-in-chief. That's a good reason to fire somebody if they can't comply with orders, period. Doesn't matter if they're people of color.
Who is African-American. Yeah. He fired the first woman to command the Navy, Admiral Lisa Franchetti. I don't understand the sort of hypocrisy of firing these people, having all these people meet together, and then denigrating them.
But did you look at it? They're looking at him like he has two heads.
Well, they didn't applaud the beginning of that clip you just saw. The president President Trump said, if you want to applaud, you applaud. If you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, and then you heard the rest. There goes your rank and your future.
But by the way, every one of these men and women in this room has been taught the entire time they've been in service that it is apolitical. You're not right, left, you're not red, blue, you're not Republican, Democrat. They don't show their politics because what you're doing on the battlefield is above politics. So they're not going to applaud, they're not going to cheer, they're not going to boo. They're going to show up and listen to the commander-in-chief. But to Sarah's point, I've literally sat in the VTC, like video conference room in the Pentagon. We could have done this a lot easier and a lot cheaper and talked to people all around the world.
Yeah. Come on.
What was the reason for it?
I think it's supposed to be a show of strength for Hegseth.
Maybe it's a distraction from, the Epstein files.
These women are nuts. They drive me crazy. They do. But you got to take everything that they say with a grain of salt because they're paid actors. That's all it is. Bunch of paid actors, rage baiters, bunch of rage master debaters. Yeah. And for the people that say, well, I know what I'm talking about because my grandfather served. Well, did you serve? Did you? For these almost served veterans, I tried joining. Well, if you tell me that, I automatically don't give a fuck about your opinion because you were never in. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to leave it at that because it is early morning. I need to get another cup of coffee and carry out my day. For the rest of the day, please get outside, do some PT, hydrate, and change your socks. I'll talk to you the next one. All right, bye.